person talking about steroid use. And at Betco too, he said that he got tested the whole time and Morrell did not get tested one time. That kind of raises some red flags there. So then when I get this fight with David Morrell, you know, we knew about it months before, like 4 months already. I had told them, you know, I'm not asking stuff that hasn't been done, but when are we gonna get the test? They kept saying next week, next week, next week, next week.
David Benavidez takes a bold stance, accusing David Morrell of using performance-enhancing drugs ahead of their fight. Teddy Atlas explains why the Benavidez versus Morrell fight is interesting and risky for both. Both are undefeated with strong amateur backgrounds. Morrell comes from the Cuban national team and has had a quick rise, winning a world title in just a few pro fights.
Very dangerous fight. Both of them were terrific amateurs, undefeated as pros. I mean, Morrell comes from the legendary Cuban national team, you know, in the Olympics, everything else. He won a world title in a short period of time, like only a few special fighters have.
Teddy points out that both Benavidez and Morrell are taking a big risk. They could wait for easier, bigger fights, but they're choosing to face each other. Teddy thinks not many fighters would do that at this stage, but both are stepping up and showing they're willing to take on tough challenges.
That have the future in front of them in their career, and they're taking a risk. They're both taking a big risk. That's what, for me, that's what makes this fight so special. Their talents, their undefeated records, what's at stake, right? All of that. But that they're taking a risk when a lot of the fighters wouldn't. They'd say, no, I'm going to wait for a bigger fight. I'm going to, you know, not a bigger fight as far as danger, but a bigger fight as far as maybe a payday or, but, you know, whatever it could be.
Calvin Henderson talks about the pressure fighters face from promoters to perform at their best, even if it means pushing their bodies too hard. He says promoters don't care about the fighters' health, just the money they make. This creates a system where fighters feel they have to do whatever it takes to stay at the top, even if it means using PEDs or risking long-term damage.
I don't know many fighters who were drinking or eating anything for this step on the scale. They was that confident in cutting weight and being that big and that strong. They were drinking Gatorade before they even stepped on the scale. Something a little fishy, man. You know what I mean? Something fishy. And the fighters know that. You know what I mean? It's hard for that to put out there into the air, but fighters know that you're really fasting.
Calvin talks about PEDs in boxing. He points out that some fighters aren't just using drugs to get bigger or stronger, but mainly to recover faster. With better recovery, they can train more and harder. It's not as obvious as bulking up, but it gives a real edge. Calvin highlights how boxing doesn't really crack down on this issue, which makes the sport less fair and messes with its integrity.
We got to order the test, so don't worry about it. I said, bull shit. Now I am worried about it. I said, no, we got to get drug tested. He said, okay, well, the best we can do is order it now and be ready for you after the fight. I said, bet, all right, let's do that. After the fight, guess what? Still no drug test, nothing.
You're kidding me. Senna said this is the same exact story.
Morrell former opponent Senna Agbeko mentions that despite concerns about PEDs, Morrell wasn't tested before their fight, while Senna was. He questions why Morrell's team wasn't tested and why they didn't push for it, suggesting there may be something suspicious about it. He also mentions how the boxing system is flawed with businessmen more focused on profits than fair competition.
There is some sort of sense of suspicion.
Of course. Yes, of course, there is a sense of suspicion because of, I mean, the thing is, even in the fight in Vegas, he had acne all on his back, on his face and everything. And Benavidez fought Jose Benavidez. He was present when I fought Morrell in Minnesota. So, of course, you know, these were concerns that I brought up, I raised with, and he actually was in my corner, was in my locker room as well, because he had Valenzuela at the time fighting Chris Colbert. So we had, you know, we really had a good time, a lot of time to really talk and, you know, really get to know each other. And I brought up that issue at the time too. And I think that he's very well aware of what, you know, being on enhancements can do for you. And
Benavidez says he's not accusing Morrell of taking steroids, but points out it's weird that Morrell wasn't tested for so long before their fight. He mentions that he always gets tested well in advance for his fights, like 14 weeks before his fight with Caleb Plant, and thinks it's odd that Morrell didn't go through the same testing process.
I'm not gonna say David Morrell is taking steroids because there's been no test of him taking steroids, but I will point out a few things. When you hear more than one person talking about steroid use, and at Betco too, he said that he got tested the whole time and Morrell did not get tested one time. That kind of raises some red flags there. For this fight, every time, you know, when these are high profile fights, we get tested because as we should. When I fought Caleb Plant, I'd signed the contract 14 weeks out.
Benavidez talks about how he almost canceled the fight with Morrell because there was no testing for weeks. He kept asking when testing would start, but they kept saying next week. Once he threatened to cancel, Vada showed up the next day. Benavidez also mentions that at the press conference, Morrell seemed shocked when steroids were brought up, and his trainer quickly took the mic from him.
Testing 14 weeks out. Andrade, same 13, 14 weeks out, start testing. Because they wanted to test me because they said I was dirty, supposedly. Or if they thought I was doing cocaine or whatever it is. I tested, I did whatever. So then when I get this fight with David Morrell, you know, we knew about it months before, like 4 months already. So I told them, you know, I'm not asking stuff that hasn't been done, but when are we gonna get the test? They kept saying next week. Until I told them, I'm like, bro, well, how the f are we not testing when I heard that he takes steroids? And, you know, we're already on week 9, no testing. I told him, bro.
Benavidez highlights how unusual it is that Morrell wasn't tested regularly, especially with such a big fight coming up. He feels it's important to have proper testing for high-profile matches, and the lack of it raises suspicions.
When I was talking, when I brought up steroids and said what I just told you right now, Morrell took his glasses off, in my opinion, in a form of shock. Like, oh, he just said that. And then Luis Cuba Sr. grabs the mic, gets up and starts yelling. And then after that, they left. That already, for me, if somebody tells me I'm taking steroids, I'm speaking up right away. Like, man, I'm not taking no steroids. What are you talking about? David Morrell didn't say shit. Luis Cuba Sr. took the microphone away from him, and he started talking for him. You know what I mean? I don't know what they were planning, or if they have some sneaky shit going on, but they're not going to play that with me.
Benavidez points out that he's been tested over 30 times, but Morrell hasn't been tested as thoroughly. He finds this suspicious and feels something is off, especially given the importance of the fight.
I'm getting tested every single week, but if I would have let it be, what if something would have happened, and then on the 3rd week, oh, now it's bad at test, you know what I mean? And this is what these people do, bro. They take steroids on week 8, week 9. They train, that shit gets flushed, and by the time they get to week 3, they bring in the testers. Oh, now it's time to test when there's no steroids in there no more. You know what I mean? So these people know what they're doing.
Dmitry Bivol isn't sure how the fight will go, but thinks it's an exciting matchup with Benavidez having the edge. He wasn't fully aware of the heated face-off, but mentioned seeing clips of Morrell's ability to fight well.
To be honest, I didn't see anything about this fight, but I know Benavidez. I saw a couple of short clips of Morrell, and it's an interesting fight.
Yeah.
Stephen Edwards recently called Benavidez a monster at 168 pounds, praising his power and agility. He pointed out that Benavidez showed these traits in the ring against 2 of Edwards' top fighters.
He's way too big to be fighting 68 pounds. I've been around. He's a big guy, you know, so I'm very, very, impressed with him. But a lot of the guys he's been fighting are so much smaller than he is where he doesn't have to go into his bag of tricks and rely on other things like his IQ and things like that. Now,
Tim Bradley thinks Morrell's still too inexperienced. He wasn't impressed with Morrell's last fight and doubts he's ready for top contenders. Bradley favors Benavidez, highlighting his ability to mix pressure with effective boxing.
I think Morrell still needs a little bit more seasoning, to be honest with you. I wasn't too fond of his last fight.
It's part of why
I really
was Benavidez. Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't too fond. Benavidez can do a little bit of everything. We only see him as being a pressure type of assassin type of guy, throwing quick combinations and really, just stepping on the gas and squashing guys. But, he can move and box if he wants to as well.
Lorenzo Simpson talks about the timing of Morrell versus Benavidez, saying both need a big fight to boost their names. He points out that Benavidez's style is all about constant pressure and fast, high-volume punches.
One of them fights that the fans deserve and boxing fans deserve.
Is this like an early version of Better Bevo? Like catching them 5-6 years earlier?
Yeah, only reason I feel like it's early because I feel like neither one, they both need the name. They both need the big fight.
and it's not gonna happen no time soon. Like nobody else that they fight is gonna have a name. So them two is available. So I feel like they're doing the right thing.
Lorenzo says Morrell can punch too, so this fight won't be like most. He points out both can knock each other out. He also notes Morrell would fight Canelo differently than Benavidez.
I think he has to counter a lot. But I think Morrell can punch like him, so I think it's gonna be a different fight that y'all see all the time. Like when two people can punch, you can't be like just throwing all, you feel me? You can't be throwing all the shots that he usually throw. He can get caught, you know? Like if he was to fight Canelo, I don't think he would go in there with all them shots, you know? So, I mean, it'd just be great to see styles match up and see what they can do.
Steven Espinoza compares Benavidez versus Morrell to Beterbiev versus Yard, calling it unpredictable. He sees both fighters as evenly matched, highly skilled, and in their primes, with no clear edge for either.
I sort of look at it like the same way I looked at Bivol Beterbiev, not stylistically, but Bivol and Beterbiev are going to fight 100 times, and every single time it's going to be a close decision. It just, that's the way they're always going to be. We'll see what happens in the ring, but I don't think there's anybody who can decisively say what's going to happen in that fight. I mean, they're two young, strong, skilled guys, in the primes of their careers. So I think they're as well positioned to take this fight. There's not really anything in either guy's background that you can point and say this will be the deciding factor.
Ahead of their fight, David Benavidez and David Morrell held a kickoff press conference in Los Angeles. At the press conference, Benavidez tried to stay calm, but things got heated when Morrell didn't shake his hand and started talking trash. Tension was rising. Then Benavidez lost it. After a shove, it was obvious. No more respect. Now it's all about taking Morrell down in the ring.
The press conference, the first one, that's the first time it got heated up. I didn't really talk bad about David Morrell before that. I kind of give him his respect. But after the press conference, you guys didn't see that. He came up to me, he gave me a hug, he shook my hand. So I was like, oh, well, this is probably what it's going to be. We're probably just going to sell this fight, He doesn't seem like he's trying to talk shit, come disrespectful, so whatever. We left it at that. When I got into the press conference on Tuesday or Wednesday, it was my birthday. I tried to come a little chill, and
Benavidez thinks Morrell's scared, maybe looking for a way out. Throwing the belt at him was just to get under his skin, but Benavidez isn't backing down.
He looked stupid in front of everybody. So then he just kept talking shit, and that kind of really just put me into another headspace where I pushed them, and I'm wrapped up. When I do that to somebody, that means I'm ready for whatever. That all respect is out the window, But it's better because this is how this fight should be. There's no respect. We're not playing about nothing. I really want to beat the shit out of Morrell, and that's exactly what I intend on doing. But for him, I know he's 100% scared of me, because he's already looking for ways out.
Sergio Mora says Benavidez's style is efficient, explosive, and fast. He compares it to Diego Corrales, saying Benavidez can throw quick combos without much body movement. His long arms and narrow shoulders help him stay fast and throw a lot of punches in tight spaces, making him a tough opponent.
We're in front of you than most fighters because he doesn't have to rotate his entire body. He does it. If you notice, when you watch Benavidez throws combinations, he's like a Diego Corrales, he's like, I hear it, instead of rotating. He's like, it's beautiful to see, but you can only do that because he has the stature. He has the long arms, and he has the short, the thin shoulders. They're not that wide. And he's a specimen. I think beats Morrell.
Leonard Ellerby calls it a true 50-50 matchup. He highlights Morrell's strength, aggression, and all-out style. Ellerby stresses how important this fight is for David's career and growth, adding that Morrell's been eager for this shot for a while.
Right. Well, yeah, David's always been that guy. He wants to get in there with the best, and he wants to stay active. He wants to fight these guys. He's a fighter's fighter. And nothing but the utmost respect for him. But this fight right here is a true 50-50. This one's because he got a kid, not a kid, a young man that's in front of him that's coming to bring it. He's not gonna sit back and be cute with it, you know, and just wait to the late rounds to hopefully he get tired and now he coming to get it.
Lonnie B praises Morrell's skills, mentioning his footwork, smooth offense, and punching power. He thinks Morrell's speed and counterpunching could be a problem for Benavidez, who leans on size and power to dominate.
Tough fight. David Morrell is really good. He's really, really good. Yeah, he's good. I can't even. He's good. You know?
You're kind of giving me a face like you don't know who wins that fight.
Yeah, I don't.
Oh.
Because David Morrell is big too. He's big for super middleweight too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's big. He can punch. He's slick. Real got that Cuban style. What he Cuban?
Yeah.
Like real slick.
But offensive with it.
Offensive with it. And those styles are tough for anybody to fight.
Jesse Hart is hyped for the February 1st fight between David Morrell and David Benavidez. He says it's big for the division and plans to watch it closely. Morrell showed some weaknesses in his first 12-round fight, especially slowing down, and Jesse thinks that could be an opening.
I want to see how David Benavidez performed at 175. He looked like he was about 200 and something pounds. He looked like he was about 220 at the face-off when I seen him on Premier Boxing Champions. That guy didn't even look like a fighter. No athlete should ever get that big, ever, in history of his boxing. That's laziness, that's inactivity, and that's just, I don't care. I'm gonna eat what I want, a bunch of tamales and beer drinking. He had a beer belly, ladies and gentlemen. That was a beer belly. I'm not looking there. Every time you see Jesse, I'm lean, mean, cut up, in great shape. I will never, that's not how a fighter's supposed to carry themselves. That's not how a champion's supposed to carry themselves. Dave Morrell, I'm looking, has he grown? Can we get him, that last fight, I seen a lot of weaknesses in him, a lot of weaknesses. I'm looking at have he grown from that fight that he went 12 rounds for the first time in his ever career.
Caleb Plant breaks down the styles of Benavidez and Morrell. He calls Benavidez aggressive with strong combinations, while Morrell is more strategic and calculated. Plant's excited about the fight, thinking the style contrast will make for an entertaining matchup.
You know, their styles are different. Southpaw, right-handed, you know, one puts their punches together very well. And so does David Morrell, but he's a little more crafty. He's a little more maybe passive in his approach. You know, I'll say that. And but that's a big fight. You know, that's one I'm excited for. So.
David Morrell talks about his fight with Benavidez, saying it's been a long-awaited matchup. He's fully committed to giving 100% in his prep. While he respects Benavidez and his team, he makes it clear it's not personal, just business in the ring.
You know, right now, so my mental is the person, not the future. I mean, right now I'm focused on this time. I have a long time when it comes, so I'm focused right now. You know, everybody watch me. Everybody know me. And 2 months now, so now it's 4 months. I have a surprise.
Caleb Plant looks back on his fight with David Benavidez. He says he was giving him problems early on, but ran out of gas later, which let Benavidez take over. Caleb points out that boxing is unpredictable, and the truth comes out in the ring. He's looking forward to the Benavidez versus Morrell fight and thinks it'll be exciting.
You know, that's the great thing about boxing is, you know, we're gonna find out, you know, when the bell rings, and truth will come to light. So until then, it's a great fight on paper, and you know, one that I'm excited for.
Do you see any similarities between you and David Morrell?
I mean, we're both have good traps. We're both slick, slightly different, but we don't fight just alike. But there's some similarities and boxing ability there.
Is that a fight you're interested in the future? If you and David Morrell?
I mean, he's at 75, but, you know, I welcome a fight with David Morrell as well.
George Mosey notes that Benavidez has fought as high as cruiserweight, but is now moving down to 175 pounds. He thinks this could give Benavidez an edge due to his natural size, but questions if the weight cut might affect his speed, which is key for him. Mosey ultimately believes Benavidez will adjust well without losing much speed.
I want to say Benavidez because it's closer to his natural weight, but at the same time, will the speed be there? I think because that's one of his best attributes, the fact he let his hands go. Now, again, his natural weight, so he may feel just naturally more comfortable and we may not see any difference, you know what I mean? Well, the difference we saw in his last fight, I'm sorry, was that it seemed like he didn't take his power. But again, the dude he fought,
Mosey predicts that if there's a stoppage in the Benavidez versus Morrell fight, it's likely Benavidez causing it. He points out Morrell has shown weaknesses and taken a lot of punches recently. While a stoppage would surprise Mosey, he thinks it's still a possibility based on Morrell's recent fights.
Benavidez, I think it'll benefit him more.
Will it surprise you if that ends in a stoppage?
Morrell and Benavidez, if anybody stopped, I think Benavidez may stop him, if anything. Because he was taking some shots. His last fight, Morrell was taking a lot of shots. So, yes, it would surprise me. Yeah, it definitely would. You see my brain.
David Benavidez talks about Morrell, saying he finishes fights fast, but hasn't faced top-level opponents. Benavidez thinks his experience and conditioning will give him the edge. His plan is to drag the fight into the later rounds and outlast Morrell. He's confident his skills will be enough to win.
He's fought against people that are not really good. That's why he finishes them early. I fought with people that are experienced, veterans in the ring, and I finish them late. So that it's gonna be, you know, my experience versus, you know, his him just trying to go in there, you know, trying to score a quick knockout or whatever it is that his game plan is. I don't really know what he's going to try to do, but I'm 100% focused, and I know that this fight is not going to be easy. You know, it's probably going to end in the later rounds. So my plan is to go in there and drown him in the deep waters.
Bozy Ennis weighs in on Benavidez versus Morrell, describing Benavidez as aggressive, using speed and high punch volume to wear opponents down. He contrasts that with Morrell's smart Cuban style, noting he's powerful and willing to trade punches. Ennis thinks the outcome will depend on which fighter takes control early, as their strengths are different.
I'm fighting you. Yeah. And don't mind, that's why I'm saying it's who get to who first, man. That's right. And so you got to remember, Morrell's a puncher too.
Yeah.
Now, Benavidez will beat you with, hurt you and stop you with accumulation of punches. So you put them two fights together, man, you got a hell of a fight, man.
Bozy says both still need to adjust to 175. Moving up affects performance, and it takes time to adapt. He thinks they'll be better this time since they've had more time to get used to it.
You have to get used to that weight. A lot of people, some people are just natural. You know what I mean? You can move right up and take care of, you know, certain people in that weight. You know what I mean? Yeah. But then you got some guys, you know, you got to adjust. You got to adjust their body for that. You know what I mean? You know, and that's what it looked like to me with them two. Look like they got to make more adjustments to their body at that weight. So this time when they fight, they should be all right then. You know, because they broke the what you call it, the water barrel, whatever you want to call it. They, you know what I mean?
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Catch you in the next video.